Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Usually we're deep in the tall grass or breaking down the latest competitive meta in the core series. But today I wanted to try something new. We're taking a trip back to 1999 to look at the game that fundamentally changed how we see our favorite pocket monsters in the broader Nintendo universe. This video will cover the development, gameplay, and fun facts behind the original Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. And of course, no video would be complete without my own gameplay footage in the background. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Before we get into the Pokémon specifics, we have to look at what made this game so revolutionary. Super Smash Bros. Was a massive departure from traditional fighting games like Street Fighter or Tekken. Instead of depleting a health bar, players seek to knock opposing characters off the stage and into blast zones. Every hit increases an opponent's damage percentage. As this percentage rises, the character is knocked progressively further by attacks, making it harder for them to recover back to the stage. But importantly for Pokemon fans in the 90s, this was the first time we got to see these creatures move in a 3D space with this level of speed and fluidity. The story of how this game came to be is almost as legendary as the game itself. It was developed by HAL Laboratory and directed by Masahiro Sakurai, with programming help from the late Satoru Iwata. Masahiro Sakurai was the series creator, who was also a developer who wanted to experiment with the N64's 3D graphics. He felt that traditional fighting games had become too complex and over-reliant on memorized combos. Sakurai's vision was a game that prioritized player strategy and improvisation. He personally handled the original prototype's planning, design, modeling, and animation. Joining him was Satoru Iwata, a brilliant programmer who would later become the president of Nintendo. Because Iwata was leading another project at the time, he actually handled the programming for the Smash prototype on weekends. He shared Sakurai's desire to create a 4-player game that utilized the N64's unique 3D joystick. Initially, the project wasn't a crossover at all. It was a prototype called Dragon King, the fighting game, which used generic, faceless character models. Sakurai felt that the original characters would make it hard for players to connect with the game's atmosphere on a home console. He even asked Nintendo for permission to use their icons. Knowing the idea of their mascots fighting was controversial, Sakurai and Iwata created a secret, well-balanced demo featuring Mario, Donkey Kong, Samus, and Fox. Once Shigeru Miyamoto saw the demo, he gave it the green light. Interestingly, the title Smash Brothers was actually suggested by Iwata. He chose the word brothers to emphasize that the characters weren't simply fighting to be enemies. They were friends who were settling a small disagreement. Now, in the original roster of 12 characters, Pokémon claimed 2 coveted spots. Pikachu was the only Pokémon available from the very start of the game. In the hands of a skilled player, Pikachu is a nightmare. It has incredible speed, powerful electric attacks, and a recovery move, Quick Attack, that is superb but notoriously hard to master. In the competitive scene for the original N64 game, top-level players often rank Pikachu as the single best character in the game. Its moveset is a perfect translation of its Pokemon identity. First, Thunder Jolt, a bouncing ball of electricity for zone control. He also knows Thunder, a massive vertical bolt that shocks anyone above Pikachu and can even grant a split second of invincibility. And finally, the recovery move Quick Attack, a 2-directional zip that is essential for returning to the stage. Then we have Jigglypuff, who is an unlockable character you had to earn by clearing the 1-player mode. While Pikachu is a powerhouse, Jigglypuff is a glass cannon. It is the lightest character in the game, meaning it gets knocked out very easily. However, Jigglypuff has some of the best aerial agility in the game, effectively dancing through the air. Its moveset includes Pound, a lunging strike that deals serious damage and helps with recovery, Sing, a move that puts nearby opponents to sleep, leaving them open for a follow-up, and finally Rest, Jigglypuff's wild card. If you land it while overlapping with an enemy, it sends them flying with intense energy, often resulting in an instant knockout. But if you miss, you're stuck sleeping and completely vulnerable. While Mewtwo is a staple of later entries in the franchise, It was originally one of several high-profile characters cut from the first Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. Mewtwo apparently was cut because of a rushed development window. After several of HAL Laboratories' other projects were canceled, including Mother 3 for the N64, the studio was under significant pressure to produce a finished game as quickly as possible. Sakurai determined that the fighting game prototype would take less time to complete than other proposals, but this tight timeline likely contributed to the need to trim the roster. Mewtwo was not the only iconic character removed during this phase. Other notable Nintendo figures cut from the final N64 game included Bowser, King Dedede, and Marth. All these characters would enter the series in later releases. But interestingly, Clefairy was heavily considered as an alternative to Jigglypuff before the developers settled on the balloon Pokémon. Clefairy was thus relegated to being a Pokeball item Pokémon. Despite being cut from the original game, Mewtwo was one of the most requested characters for the next installment. This high demand led to its inclusion as a playable fighter in the sequel Super Smash Bros. Melee, released for the GameCube in 2001. Now, for many Pokemon fans, the highlight of Super Smash Bros. Was fighting on the roof of the Silph building in Saffron City. This was the only Pokemon-themed stage in the entire game. But why only one stage? This likely was due to the one stage per franchise structure of the original game, coupled with the rushed development cycle mentioned earlier. To compensate, the developers packed Saffron City with cameos. An elevator door on the roof occasionally opens to release different Pokemon that act as stage hazards. For example, Venusaur deals contact damage and uses Razor Leaf. Charmander shoots flames at nearby fighters. Electrode waits a few seconds before unleashing a massive explosion. Chansey actually heals the first player to touch it and tosses out eggs that contain items, and Porygon darts out to deal heavy contact damage. One of the most iconic parts of the Smash series is the Pokeball item. When thrown, it summons a random Pokemon to assist the player. In the N64 original, there were 13 different Pokemon that could appear, such as Meowth, which uses Payday to hurl coins in all directions, Blastoise uses Hydro Pump to blast foes away, Snorlax leaps into the air and drops down with a massive body slam, Goldeen famously uses Splash, doing absolutely nothing, and finally Mew, the rarest summon of all. It doesn't attack, it just flies away, awarding the player bonus points. In the original Nintendo 64 version of Super Smash Bros., summoning Mew from a Pokeball is considered extremely rare. Mew's status as the rare summon continued throughout the series, appearing in later titles including Melee, Brawl, 3DS and Wii U, and finally Ultimate. While we're focusing on the N64 today, we have to acknowledge how this foundation exploded in later titles. The roster grew to include Mewtwo, Pichu, Lucario, Greninja, Incineroar, and even the Pokemon Trainer, who could swap between Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard mid-match. We also saw the introduction of Final Smashes in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Pikachu gained the devastating Volt Tackle, turning into a ball of pure lightning. Jigglypuff received Puff Up, growing to a gargantuan size and pushing everyone off the screen. When it was released, Super Smash Bros. Was a massive success, selling over 5.5 million copies worldwide. For us Pokemon fans, it wasn't just a fighting game, it was a celebration of the franchise. It proved that Pikachu and Jigglypuff could stand toe-to-toe with legends like Mario and Link. Whether you're landing a perfectly timed rest with Jigglypuff or edge-guarding with Pikachu's Thunder, the DNA of the Pokemon series is baked into the very core of Smash. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Smash 64, hit the like button and let me know in the comments. Who's your favorite Pokemon to play in the Smash series? Don't forget to subscribe for more Pokemon history and playthroughs. Until next time, keep training.